we had at the outset aren't getting better. I mean, going back to the official declaration that we are facing a pandemic, health workers in the United States have been pleading. They have been standing outside hospitals and publicly pleading for personal protective equipment to keep them safe as they cared for COVID patients, right? We saw them on Twitter begging, get me PPE, and in newspapers describing workplaces that had transformed basically into infectious disease war zones, where frontline health workers dealing with COVID patients were forced to make do with a single mask for days on end in conditions where having what you need close at hand can make the difference between your own life and death. I mean, that was the story from the outset, right? Back in March. And that was the story the following month, in April, including for one California nurse whose colleague said she was not given an N95 mask at the start of her shift, didn't have one to give her. So, wearing only a thin surgical mask, she jumped in to help a patient who had stopped breathing. She herself was exposed to the virus. She died from it. I mean, this dangerous shortfall in protective equipment for American health workers was the news in March. It was still the news in April. And it's still the news tonight. A new poll of healthcare workers from the Washington Post and Ipsos this afternoon asked health workers directly, health workers who deal with COVID patients, about conditions in their hospitals and clinics. They still do not have enough of those N95 masks, said 2/3 of the health workers polled. Finding surgical masks, the thinner ones that are really not appropriate for protecting you in a healthcare environment from patients with active disease, even finding the surgical masks is still a problem for 42% of healthcare workers who are working with COVID patients. This poll of health workers found persistent, notable shortages for hand sanitizer, protective gowns, face shields, cleaning supplies, eye protection, all the way down to gloves. Still, now, in May, we had this problem at the very outset, and we have it now, still, today. As total known cases in this country are now well above 1.5 million, and 93,000, almost 94,000 Americans have died.